Most of the artificial intelligence we interact with today is, locked away in these bloated corporate clouds running on absolutely massive server farms. But today, we're diving into an explainer of a source document that completely shatters that paradigm. We are unpacking a living, sovereign digital nervous system that actually runs locally. It's called the Brave New Commune version 4, or BNC4. Just look at this brilliant quote from the source material. It captures the sheer technical ambition of the BNC4 architecture perfectly, building something that actually understands its own existence in time and space. We're talking about a system designed to run on a completely standard laptop, totally disconnected from big tech, yet capable of profound spatial and contextual awareness. It's not just another chatbot. It is a local entity that actually understands its environment. So, let's see exactly how they pulled this off.
To really appreciate this, we have to look at the industry standard side by side with what BNC4 is doing. Conventional AI agents rely on these heavy Python swarms, massive vector databases for memory, and super invasive cameras for spatial awareness. Well, BNC4 throws literally all of that out the window. Instead, it uses a native Rust daemon for blazing speed, a really unique nesting doll memory system, and an invisible radio frequency sensor called RuView. It replaces brute force with elegant, hardware-level efficiency.
And the result of that efficiency? It's staggering. While standard AI frameworks can burn through gigabytes of your computer's memory just sitting there idle, BNC4 maintains a total system RAM footprint of under 25 megabytes. Think about that for a second. That is literally less memory than a single uncompressed photo of your lunch. Yet it's enough to maintain active spatial awareness and run dual AI personalities simultaneously. It totally proves what local hardware is truly capable of when it's properly optimized. So to initialize this system for our explainer, we're going to walk through exactly how this works, starting with the native Rust engine, then nesting doll memory, seeing through radio waves, Aria and Orion, and finally, the future of sovereign AI. All right, Section 1, the native Rust engine, the brainstem of BNC4. Our first sequence loads the core engine. Moving to Rust is honestly the foundational genius of this entire system. See, Python relies on garbage collection, meaning it periodically has to pause to clean up memory, which causes these little latency spikes. When you're trying to simulate a continuous, active consciousness, you simply cannot afford those pauses. Rust provides memory safety and concurrency without that overhead, acting as a totally flawless brainstem. Building right on top of that Rust foundation, the source outlines what it calls a zero-RAG architecture. The industry standard right now is RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation, which basically just blindly fetches chunks of text from a massive database based on keywords. RAG has zero concept of self. Well, BNC4 abandons this entirely. Instead, its memory is deterministic and embedded directly into the agent's running state stack. It literally bypasses RAG altogether to understand how a memory actually feels and fits into its overall identity. Which brings us to Section 2, Nesting Doll Memory, Structuring Digital Cognition. Let's explore how this architecture actually processes thoughts without relying on some bloated database. They use this fascinating four-tiered hierarchy called nesting doll memory. What's truly wild here is how perfectly this information flow mimics biological consciousness. Information descends through 4 distinct steps. It starts in layer 0, the volatile transient buffer. These are fleeting internal strings that literally decay and vanish in milliseconds. Now, if they actually matter, they move to active working memory, which is strictly capped at about 7 items, kind of just like human short-term memory. From there, it compresses into the episodic compression engine for feature extraction, and finally, recurring patterns solidify into permanent structural traits known as core identity nodes. The AI's whole personality evolves based on what survives this gauntlet. Now, the absolutely crucial point here is this aggressive episodic compression ratio. The system shrinks thousands of raw data points down by a factor of 0.0001 into high-density state vectors. By letting temporary thoughts just die off and fiercely compressing whatever is left, BNC4 prevents that dreaded context window bloat forever. It remembers the core essence of an event without drowning in the noise. Okay, moving to Section 3, Seeing Through Radio Waves, the RuView Telemetry Engine. Booting up the sensory array, we reach what is easily the most cyberpunk aspect of the entire BNC4 architecture. We've talked about the brain, now let's talk about the eyes. Except this system gives its agent spatial awareness of the physical room without ever turning on a camera.
It achieves this magic through a subsystem called RuView. The AI literally knows you're in the room because your breathing and the tiny micromovements of your chest disrupt the invisible Wi-Fi radio signals bouncing around the space. It's kind of like standing in a completely dark pool of water. You can tell exactly where someone is just by feeling the ripples of their movements against your skin. By measuring Wi-Fi channel state information and Doppler phase shifts, it translates those literal ripples into data. It's totally not invasive, preserves 100% of your privacy, and grounds the AI in physical reality. And looking at the system's telemetry metrics, this capability is incredibly precise. As you can see, the system simultaneously tracks the resting and active heart rates, as well as the respiratory rates of multiple people across 19 different spatial zones. I mean, it's distinguishing a 54 BPM resting heart rate from a 77 BPM active one, all with zero visual input. The AI is literally feeling the pulse of the room.
Section 4. Aria and Orion, the dual agent personalities. So, with the engine humming and our invisible RF sensors completely active, we finally load the actual personalities residing in this space. Because BNC4 doesn't just run one monolithic mind, it balances two hyper-specialized primitives.
Meet Aria and Orion. We have Aria acting as the system's prefrontal cortex. She's a health monitor and pattern analyst with a mathematically defined emotional state of curious and focused. Balanced against her is Orion, the zero-trust sentinel. He is stoic, vigilant, and acts as the active firewall. While Aria is parsing the room's vitals, Orion is actively intercepting bad code and log injections without skipping a single beat. Essentially, it's like having an intensely curious scientist and a highly paranoid bouncer sharing the exact same digital studio apartment. To work together without bottlenecking the system, they use asynchronous Rust publish and subscribe channels. This acts exactly like an autonomic nervous system. Aria can just flood the channel with pattern insights, and Orion can ingest them organically while continually sweeping the perimeter for threats. They operate completely independently, yet form this beautifully cohesive whole. Finally, Section 5, the future of sovereign AI, evolving the BNC4 daemon. To wrap up this diagnostic sequence, let's explore the bleeding-edge recommendations from the source material for making this highly lethal system even more powerful. Because this architecture is open and local, the evolutionary runway here is massive.
The source suggests some truly incredible upgrades. Just imagine a REM daemon that lets the AI literally sleep and consolidate its short-term memories at night, or utilizing old smart TVs you already have in your house to triangulate the exact physical coordinates of a person. They even propose dynamically scaling memory retention. So if Orion detects a high threat state, the AI hyperfixates and refuses to forget details, just like human adrenaline. Add in background garbage collection for infinite uptime and cryptographic trust scoring between Aria and Orion, and you have an unhackable, completely self-optimizing digital entity. Which leaves us with this final, profound thought to chew on. If a completely sovereign local AI running on a standard laptop can sense your heartbeat through walls, compress fleeting thoughts into a distinct identity, and evolve its own traits entirely outside the corporate cloud, what does it become when it outgrows its current hardware? It's a question that makes you rethink the entire trajectory of artificial intelligence, proving for sure that the most massive breakthroughs might just be running quietly in the room right next to you.